as with all the previous sets, the starter deck usually revolved around one of the archetypes that were already in the set, and this one was based around the green Broly BR archetype that we got. The hype around the movie was still flying. Dragon Ball Super was kicking, all about that Gogeta and Broly, so they gave us another Broly leader. This Broly leader was ridiculous. The deck itself was pretty insane. It's calmed down now, but when the deck came out, Broly BR was just stomping at competitive events. Locals, it was a pain in the ass too, because it was a really good deck. And anytime you got rid of one of the Broly cards, no matter how you got rid of it, a bigger one just came out. So there wasn't really a way to get around that just colossal pain in the ass outside of the few cards I mentioned, like taking it from your opponent, basically, either with cards like Captain Ginyu, Toa, or my personal favorite, Boo Make You Cookie. Of course, being that he was a Frieza's army leader, it gave him access to Cold Bloodlust, so people were usually running green, yellow, to be able to kind of take advantage of some of the green and yellow cards that we had available. The activate mana on the front sides wasn't too big of a deal. You just got to add a green one-drop Frieza's army to your hand from your deck, which you could only do it once a game, but I guess the option was, well, I didn't open with a Broly. I didn't get one when I mulliganed. I'm going to take one. I'm going to guarantee I have one to start this shit off. The Awakened side is where things got really crazy. Now, it kind of balanced out with the fact that you can only have 2 battle cards in play at a time. How much did that balance it? Well, it prevented them from completely storming your face and just beating you down. But if you got out 2 ridiculously powerful Broly cards that just kind of keep getting bigger and bigger every time they're killed, I guess it wasn't really that much of a downside. Its Sparking 7 ability was ridiculously good as well. When you attacked, you got to draw until you had 6 cards in your hand. And his Activate main lets you KO one of your battle cards and one of your opponent's battle cards. You didn't give a shit about that. You were going to KO your Broly cards, and they were just going to get bigger. Ridiculous. Ridiculous leader card, and oh my god, I'm so glad it was green, though, and not yellow, because Shugesh would have made that completely unbalanced, stupid shit. Granted, Shugesh is gone now, and he's green, so... But still, green got a lot of a boost with a lot of the counter stuff that we got in Set 7. So, I feel like Broly BR could still be a good contender in the current meta, and I feel like this leader could do pretty well as well. This deck also brought us some pretty crazy cards to go with the archetype, but one of the most, if not the most important card out of this entire deck was the Defending Father Paragus, the super combo. When you comboed, if your leader was green, 4 less life, you get to draw 2 cards and then send 1 to your warp. This was, in my personal opinion, a better version of the God of Destruction Hellies. For a few reasons. One, the discard happened second, and I think with Hellies, you had to discard a card, then you drew 2 cards. So if you drew into something you didn't want, you're like, well shit, I wish I could have got rid of this. That's where the Paragus is better. However, Hellies works with any god, so they have their different purposes. If your leader happens to be green and a god, I would go with Paragus. But easily, this is one of the best super combos, and I think right now this is one of, if not the most expensive foil super combo. I think it would be this or the Hellies, actually, because now every other super combo is just pretty generic, and since everybody stopped playing that fake Hirudegarn shit with the lineage stuff, the what's his name, Hoi super combo, it's not really worth a whole lot anymore foiled. Definitely the best super combo by far that we have in the game. Then we got Broly rushing forth. He was another 4-drop, so it gave you another target to go with the Broly BR stuff in the set. Although he had critical, which is nice. This critical is always a nice skill to have. And when he's removed, you got to choose 2 cards in your hand, place them in your drop, choose a 7-drop Broly BR, and play it. Now, it kind of... Where the other one went to a 6 and then 8, this one goes from this 4 to the 7. So it gave you another line of evolution that you can go through if you want to do something a little bit different, if you wanted the crit damage instead. And the 7-drop 30,000 power crit. That's a lot of crit damage right there. Activate battle once per turn. You can choose one card from your hand. Middle of the top 3 cards of your deck. Choose one card from your opponent's hand, and they place it in the drop area. And it's like, it's not bad, but it's not super great either. Like, they kind of... The 7-drop Broly and the 8-drop Broly, they both serve different purposes. So, it really depends on what you're going for. If you really don't want them to get more cards, the crit is definitely nice. And again, 30,000 crit is insane. The only thing I don't like is, I feel like it's not as powerful of a card as, say, the 8-drop Broly BR. It's not to say it's worse, or not to say that it's bad, but I think it's a little worse. But definitely still a fantastic option to have in the deck. If you were going to run Broly BR, I would run all of them, if I was going to be honest. I would run all of them to come in the set, plus this 4-drop and 7-drop as well. The rest of the cards in the deck didn't really seem to do a whole lot. You had the Chilai Frieza Force Soldier. You got to draw a card, 2 energy, choose a green Frieza's army, 2 or less from your deck, and play it. Like, it wasn't great. I mean, I guess it's not terrible, but it didn't really do a whole lot for the deck. There were always better cards that you could play other than that. Now, Delimo, on the other hand, I liked his ability, because he is a 2-cost, but for 1 green energy once per turn, you get to choose and discard a card, choose a Chilai BR, 2 or less from your deck, and play it. So, you could choose the blocker, you could choose the campaign rare, that makes your opponent discard a card every time you KO one of their cards. And I feel like this is a better card anyways, just because if you're running yellow-green, then you just play him via the Frieza's Call, and then so you're playing him for 1 yellow, and then activate main for 1 green, and you play the Chilai, and bam, you've got 2 battle cards right there. If you start KOing stuff, you're just gonna keep triggering that discard, and if you keep the Limo alive and just keep racking up Chilais, then they're gonna have to discard for each Chilai they have. I know that's some cheeky shit that I would do that didn't really help the deck at all, but it was still interesting to see the other cards in the deck that could actually be used. But for the most part, the Broly deck was just so tight on space, there wasn't really room for any cheekiness to be had. We did, however, get some decent yellow support with the deck, the Whis being probably the better of the two. He was basically the Borgos that we got in Clash of Fates. That's what he served as. He was your energy removal if your opponent did a lot of energy manipulation via non-awakened skills. Did all the colors need him? Yes. Do I feel like it's unfair that yellow, you had to buy the starter deck to get it? Absolutely. I think that's kind of a bit out there, but, you know, it's not that big of a deal, and I'm sure the card is dirt cheap, if anything. The Beerus, on the other hand, it's a 1-drop, KO energy, cost 2 or less. It's not a bad card. It's kind of similar to the Vegeta campaign rare that we got with the Clash of Fates set. Was it with Clash of Fates? Or was it with set 5? I don't remember. It was the campaign rare. Whatever. But he only got rid of cards with barrier, where this one doesn't target cards with barrier and still KOs 2-drop or less. So not a bad card at all. Sadly, the Goku and Vegeta that came with the deck also didn't see a lot of play. I actually don't think I saw anybody use these cards in anything. The Vegeta was basically a 1-drop 15k blocker if your opponent had enough energy in rest mode, or had enough cards in rest mode, rather. The Goku, he was a 1-drop as well, that you could basically play him and then put him in the drop to get a green or yellow Saiyan 3 or less, 10k or less, and play it in rest mode. That one helps a little bit more, but even so, again, the Broly deck was just so tight-knit that you just didn't have a lot of room for stuff like this. Out of the starter deck, easily the cards that were worthwhile were the leader itself and the Paragus super combo. The 4-drop and the 7-drop were okay, but the leader and the super combo were the real catch cards in the deck, and what made the deck as powerful as it was. Now, if you really want to talk about power, the secret rares for Set 6 were absolutely insane, and their playability was pretty damn impressive as well. AOD, Majin Buu, is and was, and I guess it still kind of could be, an extremely ridiculously overpowered archetype. I love that we got a Majin Buu Secret Rare. I hate that it's this weird made up Kid Buu where you absorb bobbity shit that just whatever. I'm not sure where the origin of that came from. Probably from one of the random games, but having a Majin Buu Secret Rare is dope. I never had one myself. Not willing to pay that much or trade that much shit for one, so I don't really care. Extremely abusable, and even more so now with the addition of Innocence Cannon Majin Buu. It made it extremely easy to play this card just because you could play him either on turn 2 or you could play him with the new Assembling the Squad in a Wish deck. You bring out Innocence Cannon, you Union absorb him into the Super Buu from Union Force, and then you go straight from that into Arcane Absorption, and you can just start that chain stupid quick. And to get out a triple strike 40,000 that early in the game, I honestly don't even know what, like, there's just not a lot your opponent could even do once you make a play that powerful that early on. At 2 energy, what are they going to do? Sure, you're going to add 3 cards to their hand with that triple strike damage, but even so, they're only going to have 2 or 3 energy to use. So, there's not a whole lot of shit going on, even without his activate main ability. A 40,000 triple strike, and if you put Dawn of the Rampage, Majin Buu underneath him, when you Union Absorb into that Evil Buu, you're going to have a triple strike barrier 40,000. You just swing, swing, swing. And honestly, I almost feel like you don't even need the Agent of Destruction cards. It's a nice addition, but you could just easily do this, and on turn 2, or even if you went first, then your turn 2, you just drop Nut if you can Shenron Wish that soon, and your opponent's sitting at 1 energy, you could just murder them right then and there. Just, oh, I'm going to use my Shenron ability, give him triple strike, triple attack, triple strike, and I'm going to attack for game. At that point, you can just combo everything you have in your hand, and what else is there that your opponent can really do? Unless they happen to have multiple negates that are the sparking negates that take away from life. But even then, they might even have to set up by just discarding, by comboing stuff, so they can set up for that negate. And in which case, they're going to lose all their cards, and you're just going to win in the end. Like, I want to build a deck that just focuses on just getting this guy out as fast as possible, and not even giving a shit at all about the Grand Evil, or the Grand Evil, the Agent of Destruction cards. They're not necessary. I mean, for 6 energy, you can choose an Evil Wizard Bobby in your drop area or warp. Play it. Play this card from on top of your blah blah blah. That's pointless. When you play this card, if there's an Evil Wizard under this card, choose 5 Agent of Destruction from your drop area or warp and play them. You can set up for that. But again, you could get this Buu out so freaking easily. And again, I mean, it's not even necessary either, I suppose, just because you could also do the same thing with all the other Buu support. We've got a couple other Majin Buus that have triple strike, and you could do the same thing. But 40,000 triple strike is insane on its own, and the other cards your opponent could be able to combo over to kill it, but comboing over this that early in the game would be damn near impossible outside of having all 4 of their super combos. To go along with the Arcane Absorption Majin Buu, there was a total of 5 Destruction Rares that were the Agents of Destruction. You had Agent of Destruction Vegeta, Janemba, Android 13, Bojack, and Lord Slug. To effectively play the Agents of Destruction, your deck needed to at least contain a couple copies of Bobbity, Overseer of Destruction. A pretty cheap card to play at 1 energy. He had Barrier to keep him protected, and his permanent allowed you to only have 1 in play at a time, thankfully, because they could have got way out of hand if they didn't have that ability. And his permanent reduced the energy cost of all Agent of Destruction cards in your hand by 1. So that allowed you to play these cards at a very early point in the game, if you were actually playing Agents of Destruction and not focusing on just getting out the Arcane Absorption Boo, and then doing everything that way. Fantastic card to have. My personal favorite of the Agents of Destruction was the Vegeta. 3 cost, 2 if you had the Bobbity in play, 20,000 power. Red card, but it requires a blue energy to use it, which, of course, if you're playing the Bobbity, you're going to have blue anyway, so very, very easy to be able to work around. When you played him, you got to choose an opponent's battle card, 25 or less, and KO it. So, great destruction right there for a lot of battle cards, because 25,000 or less is fantastic. There's no energy restriction on it. And once per turn, for the 1 blue and 1 other energy, if your leader was red, he gained plus 10,000, double strike, and dual attack. So, 30,000 with quad damage coming at your opponent. That's pretty impressive, especially for a 2-drop if you're playing the Bobbity. So you Bobbity, and then play him, and then next turn you're going to friggin' use his ability and just fuck your opponent's face. And it's a really cool... I really like what they did with the Agents of Destruction, and I feel like there's more that could be done with them outside of using the Arcane Absorption Boo. I just feel like enough people haven't really tried to see what they can use to fully take advantage of these awesome cards. The 2 green Agent Destruction cards weren't as bad either. I personally liked the Android 13, despite the fact that I hated Android 13 as a character and the movie itself. But 20k critical, 2 energy, you get to KO one of your opponent's battle cards, and they have to discard a card. And that's not a once per turn activate main either, so that's pretty cool that you could just keep using it over and over again as long as you've got the open energy to do so. Really powerful card, especially for green decks, which green decks were still lacking. Still kind of are somewhat, it seems like. It still seems that blue, red, and yellow just always have the upper hand on them. Red's just got ridiculous aggro. Blue has just got all kinds of shit. Yellow's just... I don't know, it still feels like green is a little lacking, but this is a powerful card that you can run in any green deck at all. The Lord Slug, on the other hand, I mean, I hate Lord Slug anyways. Same thing, he's 20,000 power. When you play him, your opponent has to discard a card. His activate main is a little more useless. Once per turn, for 1 green energy, you get to choose a Slug's army, energy cost of 3 or less, and play it. That allows you to play cards for less energy, meaning you get to play cards, you know, whatever. And when you combine that with Wings, that cuts all Lord Slug cards down by 1 energy anyways, there's a lot of stupid shit you can play in 1 turn with this. But since it's tied to Lord Slug, that means you're having to use the leader, you're having to use the archetype, and so there's just not as much use for this particular card. Then for blue and yellow, we got Agent of Destruction Janemba and Agent of Destruction Bojack. I personally like the Janemba. He's, again, 20,000 crit, but his abilities aren't really as useful outside of using the Janemba deck. His auto says when you play it from the hand or warp, at the end of the turn, choose one of your energy and switch it to active mode. And with the critical damage, you're getting in some damage, and you're getting to end with an open energy as well. His activate main says send this card to the owner's drop, draw a card, and your opponent places the top 3 cards of the deck in the drop area. So, and plus, having that extra energy gives you the ability to go a little more aggro and have an open slot for defense, which kind of leaves you going, oh, not only can I now tap out, but I don't have to worry about using, taking a card from life to be able to use my Dimension Magic. So it gives you a lot more options with this card. And so this one, obviously you could run it with, you know, whatever you wanted, as long as you've got the blue energy to play it. But it's really only useful in the Janemba deck. The Bojack, on the other hand, I don't know. I didn't care for the Bojack archetype anyways. 20k, just like the rest of them. When you play him, choose one of your opponent's battle cards ignoring barriers, switch it to rest mode, as what a lot of his stuff does. Activate main is for 2 energy. Switch it to rest mode, choose your opponent's leader, switch it to rest mode, and can't be switched to active mode till the end of your opponent's next turn. Now, for the most part, that's only going to do so much. It's cool that you can prevent your opponent's leader from attacking, but really all you're doing is preventing a little extra damage to yourself, or one of your battle cards from being KO'd, and preventing that 1 draw that they're going to get. Now, some leaders get better abilities when they attack, like, oh, I don't know, Soul Striker Goku. who attacks and gets untapped 2 energy. Obviously, that'd be a great way to shut that deck down. But some other leaders don't really do a whole lot when they attack, and they just have, say, like critical, or just some other minor abilities, like the Zamasu and the Kefla and stuff that just let you look at the top 5 cards, add something to your hand. So, it's cool, it's a good ability, it's just not as usable as, in my opinion, the Vegeta or the Android 13. Then you had the Broly Ultimate Agent of Destruction, who you could not get out as an Agent of Destruction with the Boo, since they were both Ultimates, they both Secret Rares, so no stupid shit going on there. But there's plenty of stupid shit going on with this card. He's got Dual Attack, Double Strike, 40,000 just like the Majin Buu. When one of your green battle cards with energy cost 7 is removed from a battle area by a skill or KO'd, you can choose all cards other than him in your hand, put him in the drop, and then you play this card. If you're, going all in and using your stuff anyways, you're not discarding a whole lot. And when he attacks, if your life is at 1, your opponent chooses all cards in their hand, puts them in the drop area. Ridiculous. The one card wipes out everything your opponent has, and double strike, dual attack. That's no joke either. You can't really get this out as quick as you could get out Arcane Majin Buu, but still, Ultimate Agent of Destruction Broly is a powerful, powerful card. And it has ridiculous playability too, because you just have to have a green battle card energy 7 or more. So, and it's not hard to do that either, especially when you've got cards like the whatever of Wrath, the green negate that came in this set. Oh, I'm going to negate the attack. I'm going to kill one of my dudes to make you discard. Oh, my dude died. Out comes this Broly. And people were using the Super Saiyan 2 Green Gohan from the Anniversary box. Use that to bring out the 7-drop Piercing Super Saiyan 2 Son Goku, or Son Gohan from Union Force. And then use him to get out the Broly, and just some really cheeky stuff. So much you could do with this. The 7 or more is a little bit high, but there are plenty of battle cards, green battle cards that have 7 or more energy. So any green deck should be playing this if they have a high-powered battle card. A Vegito. If you're playing Vegito, chances are if you're using the Vegito leader, outside of the new Vegito stuff, you could be using the old Hyper Rush Vegito. Oh, they killed him. Bam, here's Broly. Like, there's so many good options and so many good ways you can take advantage of this card. I feel like this card actually has more playability than than the Arcane Absorption Majin Buu, just because this can be used with any green battle card, whatever. You can just slip him into a deck. Whereas the Majin Buu, you're either doing something like I suggested, trying to get him out as quick as possible, just murder them with a 40,000 beat stick, or you're actually trying to do all the Agent Destruction stuff and get out, 4 or 5 agents with all that shenanigans, and then rush them with all of it. But there's more you have to go. You have to have the agents in the decks. That's cutting down on deck space. You have to have the Majin Buus, otherwise you're not getting Arcane Evil out very fast. It's just so, I don't know, it's so much, like, I think the Majin Buu is a little better, but I feel like the Broly has much more versatility in the amount of decks you can play him in. Set 6 also had plenty of promos that you could collect and play with and build different decks with, and the box promo that came with every box of the Set 6 was Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta Fusion's Pinnacle. Great card for Gogeta BR. Fantastic. Is it better than the 8-drop from the set? It's debatable. They both have their uses, they both have their advantages and their disadvantages. But I kind of like this one in a way better than the other one. While the 8-drop Gogeta from the set is much better as a utility card and being able to clear your opponent's board, and it can't be KO'd and all that kind of stuff, Fusion's Pinnacle, this Gogeta is so much better as a finisher. The triple strike is better than double strike. Sure, he's only at 30,000 power instead of, I believe, the 8 drops, what, 35,000? But wiping the abilities of all of your opponent's battle cards the turn he's played. He's a 30,000. That means your opponent's super combos are not good. You better hope that they're using some trashy super combos that are not the newer sparking combos, or the ones that already have the plus 10,000 built into them. Because if they've got those ones with 0 combo power, they're not doing shit. There's no blocker happening. It's such a much better card for a finisher. And I actually kind of want to build a deck. Well, I had a deck I built with it. I kind of want to build another deck with it. I might actually do that. As if I didn't have enough decks built and half built already as it is. But personally, I think this was a fantastic card. It never saw a lot of play because obviously with Gogeta BR, people were using the other Gogeta because he just straight up can't die. So, and then people were running like Gogeta BR with like the baby Vegeta leader. But nonetheless, this was still a really powerful card in my opinion, and I feel like it should have seen much more play than it actually did. We also got some really cool tournament promos for Set 6 as well. None of them really seem to, come out as these really powerful cards. A lot of them didn't even see much play, if at all. But I still feel like, in their own right, they were decent cards nonetheless, despite the fact that they just didn't see a lot of play. But that's also because, for the most part, a lot of people were running these same decks. Some people were still running Janemba, some people still running Shenron Gogeta, Shenron Victory Strike, and obviously out of all of those, and out of the stuff we got in Set 2, the majority of people were running the most broken stuff they could, those decks being the Agent Destruction, Majin Buu deck, and the deck that can abuse the shit out of that Broly Secret Rare. My personal favorite from the Set 6 tournament pack was Demonic Invasion Majin Buu. He was just a 30,000 body that came into play if a Majin Buu with an energy cost of 6 or more in your battle area was removed by an opponent's skill. So, if they had to play a card to either bounce it back to your hand, to KO him, to warp him, if they did anything to get it off the board, with the exception of just straight up killing it by battle, you could bring out this Majin Buu. Now, you could only have one of these in your battle area, and it didn't really do anything else. Didn't have crit, nothing like that. But it was, just like I said, a 30,000 body that could come in for no energy when your opponent got rid of one of yours. A really powerful card if you're running Buu, and I think it was severely underrated just because, well, I feel like the Majin Buu support is underrated as is. Then you got Hercule, the Majin Whisperer. It's always great to see new Hercule cards, even though none of them really kind of serve a purpose to, like, one deck or another. But I feel like this one was pretty useless. I probably would not have been excited to get him, even as a foil. Because when you played him, you got to choose a Majin Buu in your battle area. If there was a Majin Buu, the energy cost of 1, you got to choose a Majin Buu, energy cost of 1 among them, and play it in your battle area, and then draw 1 card. But you were playing the 1-drop. Like, that doesn't even matter. The 1-drop Buu just was not doing anything. You're really looking at, okay, do you want the 1-drop Buu from Set 6 that's going to take a card from life and you can switch him with your energy? Or do you want the 1-drop Buu from friggin' Galactic Battle that when he comes into play you draw a card? Like, either way, it just wasn't worth the 1 extra energy. Hercule tried, and it's cool to see 2 cards in the tournament pack that supported the Majin Buu archetype when no Vegito cards were present, but again, the Hercule was just pretty much useless. The green and red cards weren't really any better, although I did like the Super Saiyan God Vegeta, both because I like Super Saiyan God as a form, but also I feel like the card was a decent card for like a side deck option. If your opponent had 2 or more battle cards, you got to reduce the energy cost by 2, so you could play him for 1, his Sparking 3 would let you kill a couple battle cards, and then you'd have a 15k body to be able to do a little extra damage with. But overall, again, it didn't really do a whole lot. I don't think I really saw anybody play this card. I still feel like it'd be a decent side deck card, perhaps, for green. But other than that, it was just a really pretty collectible. Same thing goes for Veku Triumphant Might. You have to union him for 1 energy. He had barrier, and when your opponent switches energy to active mode, you get to choose energy and put it in their drop area. not a super great card. An okay ability that you could kind of take advantage of, but the thing with cards like that is, like, while the ability itself is great to be able to punish your opponent for switching their energy, not a whole lot of decks or strategies even revolve around that. His activate main wasn't a whole lot better either. You have to put him in your drop area, choose a red Goku and Vegeta from your drop area, add him to your hand. So, like, you were just replacing whatever you used to make him. But he's just, I don't know, he's just kind of like an option. Again, another side deck card if you're running Gogeta BR, but not something that you're going to go, wow, I have to have this to make my deck better. Yellow gave us a new Gohan in Shadow Kick Super Saiyan 2 Sun Gohan, and a new Bojack the Tyrant. Neither of these cards really helped their archetype a whole lot, and they weren't really necessary. I absolutely love the art and the foil on the Gohan, but his ability just wasn't that great. When he attacked a battle card and your opponent had 4 or more cards in rest mode, you got to switch him to active mode once per turn. But that was really it. His best feature was that when you KO'd a battle card, you get to draw a card. So you gave him the ability to restand. He could kill 2 battle cards. You might draw 2 cards, but he's a 4-cost 20k, and that's really all there is to him. So while an interesting card to give you a little bit of options, really didn't help with the problem of trying to get out the 6-drop Goku, or the 6 drops Gohan from the set. Same thing with the Bojack. When you played him, you get to choose a battle card in rest mode, and your opponent couldn't switch it to rest mode at the end of their turn. Like, not really that big a deal. He gets double strike, which is kind of nice, but he's still, you know, only 20k, and doesn't really do anything else once you've played him. So, decent cards. Their usability was alright within their own decks, but outside of them, and even just in general, they weren't that usable. We also got 2 new Dragon Ball cards in 3-star ball and the 5-star ball. Still not as great as really any of the Dragon Balls in general. I still just like the generic Dragon Balls that just let you draw a card for no energy. The 1-star ball is okay, because it kind of forces your opponent to discard one, but the 3-star, you draw a card, choose one of your battle cards, and it can attack battle cards in active mode. That's not a terrible one. It's alright if you were going to run maybe 1 or 2 of them, but I don't think you would run too many, because you want to get the Dragon Balls in the drop as quick as possible, and if it has an energy cost, it's not going to be as easy. The 5-star ball, again, it's one of those things like, I don't really care as much about it. You draw a card, you choose one of your battle cards, and gains blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn. Now, if it was a big battle card and maybe it had revenge, that's a different story, especially since they completely fucked over the ruling on how revenge works and King Vegeta surprise attack. But again, it's one of those cards that it looks great. The foiling on these Dragon Ball cards is amazing, but you're really only going to use them as a collector's item and not actually something you're going to put in the deck. We also got a pseudo alternate version of the BCC Goku that we got way back in, I believe it was set 4? I think it was set 4 we got that Goku. This Goku had the same ability to reduce his energy cost by 2, and he had a similar ability to the promo Vegeta, actually. When you played him, you got to draw a card, so he came out for 1 energy, basically, as another 15k, and it gave you another Goku BR that you could use along with that Vegeta. But having them both on the board doesn't really benefit you a whole lot, because with Gogeta and Union Fusion, you had to fuse them in your hand. Now, if this was for regular Goku, regular Vegeta, you could Union Potara them into Vegito, and that would be fantastic. But as they are, it's just kind of little niche cards you could play here and there, but didn't really support the deck in any way, especially with their colors being green of all colors. Most of the Gogeta support for BR had to be red, or at the very least, a few of them had to be blue. We also got the Broly Pack Volume 2 with this set. It had a few more cards than the first set. We had the 3-drop Whis, we had the Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, the new Paragus, the Yellow Broly, and a new Shenron card. A lot of these didn't really see much play competitive-wise, but some of them kind of had their uses here and there. with the best of the 5 being the Paragus, the Sacrifice. Is a 1 cost that once per turn you choose a green card other than himself and place it in your drop area, draw a card. So that just kind of, not only did it fuel your ability to increase the Broly BR chain on your own terms, but you also got to draw a card out of it every turn. So this was a fantastic card. I can't even remember what the value of this card went up to at one point during the peak of Broly BR being a top meta deck, but easily probably the best card out of the entire pack. Not to mention, just despite the weird redesigned armor that they had, the color scheme just looks fantastic. The 10-drop Gogeta was a really interesting card in its own right, but almost impossible to play. You had to EX Evolve a Gogeta BR energy cost of 6 for 8 energy. But when this card did evolve, you took the top 6 cards of your deck and put them in your energy, which gave you a lot of options at, 14 fucking energy. Once per turn, if you had 15 or more energy, you got to choose 4 of your opponent's life, place them at the bottom of the deck in any order. So it's basically a guaranteed kill, or some people were, toying around with the idea of running him with the Beerus leader to get to his activate main for 16 energy and just win the game. But in retrospect now, this card is completely antiquated and just outdated, because for 14 energy, for 15 energy, you're going to put the 4 cards from your opponent's life at the bottom of their deck. Or you could just play the new Zamasu leader with the Zamasu support, do that in half the energy with half the time, with cards that help you ramp to get to that point. Like, there was no... It's almost like when they made the Zamasu stuff, they were like, hey, you remember that Gogeta we created? What if we made him actually good and playable? That's what we're going to build this deck around. As much as I liked Whis as a character, I cannot find a way to justify running this card at all. While it looks like a great foil promo, the ability to get back a Goku or a Vegeta from your drop area, or even a Gogeta, and add it to your hand for 1 energy, is just kind of asinine. Like, why go through that for the 1 energy when you're just going to run multiples of it in your deck anyways? Unless you somehow mill all of them, or you used all of them, your opponent discarded them, I don't see the point in having this in your deck. And at that point, you could even just have other stuff that puts stuff back into your deck. I don't know. To me, I feel like the Whis was a really weak card, and probably one of the worst of these promos. Stepping away from the green Broly BR archetype, you could always run yellow if that color is more to your liking. I personally didn't really like the way the yellow cards worked. You had 2 energy to EX Evolve him on a yellow Broly BR, energy cost of 7. He's got Double Strike. If the total number of cards in rest mode was 8, you have to reduce him in your hand by 4. So you could essentially just play him for 5 energy if you didn't want to EX Evolve him. Once per turn, you can choose a card from your hand, place it in the drop. If your opponent had 3 or more energy, you got to choose one of their cards in rest mode and place it in the owner's drop area. Really not that big of a deal. Not that great of an ability. 35k Double Strike is stupid powerful, but other than that, I still feel like the yellow stuff was just severely underpowered compared to its green counterpart. The BR Shenron was also equally as underwhelming as the Broly stuff compared to the previous Shenrons we had. If you compare this to the Shenron, the 4-drop Shenron that came out of the starter deck from set 5, and you compare it to this Shenron is absolute garbage. It might have better art, better foiling, but looking pretty don't mean shit if you're just a piece of trash. Coming into play, KOing a battle card, and then choosing a Desire with an energy cost of 2 or less and adding it to your hand is a complete waste of 4 energy, when you can do so much more with the 4-drop Shenron from the starter deck. I don't think anybody ever tried to play this card. I don't think it would ever be worth trying to play this card. If you're wanting to play a Shenron, to play a battle card that can't attack, play one that's actually going to give you something back in return for 4 energy that you're probably going to tap out for it, and you're going to be completely vulnerable to whatever your opponent has. At least with the other one, it gets once per turn abilities instead of when you play it ability. You could untap energy, you could get to draw a card, whatever you want to do. But this is just an example of a card that's never going to see play. Broly Pack 3 also came out at the exact same time. I'm not really sure why they decided to release the first pack so much earlier on, and then turn around and have Pack 2 and 3 come out simultaneously instead of having one come out for a little bit, giving people time to collect the cards, and then focus on getting the pack from the third set. Not to mention, the cards in the Broly Pack 3 should have come out before Broly Pack 2. The order was just kind of backwards and didn't make any sense. To be able to play the blue Gogeta and the yellow Broly from Broly Pack 2, you had to have the blue Gogeta stuff and the yellow Broly stuff from Pack 3. Why? It should have been the other way around. Why they did it that way, the distribution doesn't make sense at all. And these could have been really great looking cards if they were foil. Why they weren't foil is, again, beyond me. Bandai just does some of the stupidest stuff with their cards, and with the foiling that they give to some of their promos, if they would just give that to every promo, you would be happy just to get a promo, period, whether it was a card you were going to use or not, because at least it would look awesome, instead of looking like some of the shit that they make these cards, or like these, not even foil at all. You had the 4-drop Broly that kind of started everything along the same lines as the green Broly BR stuff that we got in the set, although, again, yellow was just kind of underwhelming. If the total number of cards in rest mode between you and your opponent was 3 or more, you get to reduce them by 2. So you play him for 2 energy for 15k. Really not that great. Once per turn, you chose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and couldn't switch till the end of their next turn. Like, that's nice and all, but again, compared to what the green Broly BR stuff was capable of, it just seemed so underwhelming when you just, in comparison. The 7-drop wasn't really any better. You EX evolved it for 2 energy on top of the 4-drop. So 2 energy to play the 4-drop, 2 energy to EX evolve to this one. You could reduce him by 3 and play him for 4 energy just outright if you had 6 or more rested cards between you and your opponent. When you played him, you'd only activate skills on cards that are green or yellow, no other color for the duration of the turn, which whoop-de-doo. I mean, right now it'd be kind of awkward since green and red are combined for the multicolored cards, and blue and yellow, but it would still count as yellow, so I don't know. Activate main once per turn. Choose a card from your hand, place it in your drop area, choose an opponent's rest battle card, and can't be switched to active mode until the end of the turn. Again, like, why? It's interesting. You can rest mode their shit, and they can't unrest mode it, or you're just gonna kill it that turn anyways, but it just doesn't do anything compared to all the stuff the green does. The green constantly is evolving every time it's removed, period, whether it's by you or your opponent. They got better abilities, they got crit, they got double strike, they got hand destruction. These are just, I don't know, the cards are just not good. Same can kind of be said about the Veku and the Gogeta. The Veku, you union for 3 energy. He's got blocker and barrier. I mean, okay. He's a 5k blocker with 10,000 power. He's not going to stay around long for that. You're better off just keeping him on the board. He's got barrier to protect himself, and just hope for the best. When he's KO'd, if your leader was a blue Gogeta BR card, you got to choose a red Goku BR and Vegeta in your drop, add them to your hand. If you did that, add 2 cards from your deck to your energy. But, okay, your leader had to be so specific, and you were ramping up for next to nothing. Like, it didn't seem to really support itself in a way to make it worth playing those cards. Now, the Comeback King Gogeta, I really liked this card. And just the art on it looked fantastic. Would have been great if it was a foil. 7 energy, though, to Union Fusion him. 7. He's got blocker. 25,000, that's a bit better, but when you played him, you had to add 3 cards from the top of your deck to your energy, and he didn't care who your leader was. So it gave you a little bit more flexibility with what you could do with it, but again, as I've said before, when you go up to that 10 drop Gogeta, you're basically putting in twice the work just to get out the same ability you could with the new Zamasu stuff. And even before the Zamasu stuff was ever known about, this was really just a kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of deck that people were trying to build, but there was no real consistent, reliable way to go about it. It never even really saw much at local events, let alone anything competitive. Nobody was dumb enough to try and run this kind of stuff because it was just overall terrible cards.